20 down. I have been using Zoom, but apparently Zoom didn't work, so we're on here now. Like I said, we were doing a recap of the national championship game where Michigan won 4-13. Blake Corum had 2 rushing touchdowns. Michigan had 2 field goals. Washington 2 field goals and 1 touchdown. So congratulations to Wolverine being the national champions. See how that goes in the coming year, and if Jim Harbaugh is going to. Also, we're going to wait and see what happens with news of Nick Saban retiring today. He won 7 national championships, 6 at Alabama, 1 at LSU, and judging the impact he made not only in the coaching ranks, but just for how he was successful having top 300 for different recruiting classes since he got there in 2007. Also winning 6 championships there. He won his other one at LSU. And then just the difference in his coaching tree besides Kirby, Dan Lanning, Mario Cristobal, just a few. He never had a losing season, and the only season I could say were not completely positive were when he was at Michigan State, and he had 500 records in 2 of his seasons. The question is going to be who's going to be the coach now, and there have been a few names that have thrown out, depending on if we have other people that will make some of the names they had done a coaching find earlier, and you have Kirby Smart, Steve Sarkisian, Jimbo Fisher, Lane Kiffin, Billy Napier, Dan Lanning, Mario Cristobal, Will Muschamp, Derek Dooley, Mark D'Antonio, Butch Jones, Mike Locksley, Adam Gase, Jason Garrett, just to name a few of them. So we're going to see, depending on if they're going to have any comments and who the different coaches could be. I know some are definitely thinking that Dabo Swinney is going to be a pick, so we're going to wait and see. It still is, frankly, a shock. I know that him retiring, but you didn't think that was going to happen yet. Because in some ways, I wouldn't say superhuman. His last contract he signed was for $94 million up until 2030, and we hope that everything's okay with him, and we wish him the best in his retirement. Just seeing who Wilds will be and who's going to make the biggest impact, and quickly enough will be the other news, but for Coach Saban, it definitely, you knew it could happen at some point, but you didn't expect it to happen. He's definitely one of the coaches that have ever coached football, and I'm more just curious to see who, because some of the names they've talked about are Mike Norvell, Dabo Swinney. They did mention Sark. They did mention Caleb DeBoer. Anyone would want that job. because of how Saban has left the facilities. The only question is who will be the one who will take over and start, and how will the recruiting go, because as he announced his retirement, they did lose one of their top commits, so wide receiver. So the question is, how will he not whip, but how will they keep making moves? Third highest win the national championship behind Ohio State, and so and also when you're looking at the NCAA, they adopted new rules regarding the NIL. So we're going to see how that works, because Charlie Baker has announced that he's trying to change how different things are happening in regards to the NIL. But with the news that came out today, which included Oklahoma State about the name, image, and likeness for the school, how it could make a difference, depending on what's voted on in the months, for what Charlie Baker talked about a month ago. The question is if this is going to be something that they're doing just as a temporary fix, or if it's something they're actually going to use to work it more fair for other athletes who aren't getting the multi-million-dollar deals that some players are getting. And you did see today also that the NCAA president admitted that they won their fall national title fair and square. According to an article from Dan Murphy, Charlie Baker said that it was earned fair and square, and that his organization's mutual about the cheating allegations during help to eliminate doubts about the legitimate title run. Said that they were both the Michigan and the Big Ten in October to receive very confirmation that the Wolverines were involved in a broad and unusual sign stealing scheme. The conversations all to the final 3 games. It also had Stallions resign and Partridge getting fired. Baker said that by bringing those allegations into the public, it allowed Michigan to raise potential unfair advantages in the final month of the regular season throughout the season run. Because sitting on the comprehensiveness of it, including play, at the end of this point, that Michigan didn't win the national title, the right thing. Their investigation into the alleged cheating scheme remains open. The program is also under investigation for alleged for which Harbaugh served being suspended. Harbaugh team conditional sanctions for both pending cases. He admitted he does not know what penalties might be when they arrive. He said the infraction team is working on the process. In the sign stealing case, Commissioner Tony Petitti had to employ a controversial interpretation of the league's sportsmanship policy to levy any punishment during the season. We do have discussions going on with the infraction, whether or not we can do something to hasten our investigation. Certainly, in a case like this, he hopes that the investigation will pick up speed now that the season's over, and the staff will be more readily able to talk to us. Harbaugh, though, he did not talk about if he was going to be coming back to Michigan, depending on what happens with this information. The rumor right now is more considering hiring him in the NFL. If he does, Baker admit how that would impact the NCAA potential sanctions of Michigan, or whether they would work with the NFL to try to hold him accountable in some way. Harbaugh did talk on Tuesday about the biggest issue for Baker's plate in the coming year, the push to share more money with athletes. He believes coaches and administrators and coaches will all be like 5 to 10 more to the players. Harbaugh said we're all running the same train. Players Association former union. Everybody is maximizing the revenue source there is, not sharing it with the talent. There's no business where that would ever fly. Baker had introduced a proposal for rule changes that would allow schools several new avenues to share some of their revenue with athletes. When he was asked, a prominent coach saying that would help, Baker said any coach using their platform to discuss changes they want to see. I think coaches have a platform that is earned and deserved. They should feel free to talk about whatever they want to talk about. Those are big time audience. And looking at that makes me question how it's going to go in regards to next year. Because if Harbaugh doesn't return, what's going for him and happen to me? We're going to have to wait and see about that. Coming on right now, looks like we may have Tyler Turner on.
Hello, man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good.
I'm on Monday.
Good. Good performance by Michigan.
Yeah, it was. I expected a little more. I was sad that it didn't turn out that way because, Penix says 2 interceptions definitely hurt, and it felt comfortable around the pocket a lot of times just because he overthrew a lot of receivers.
Yeah, he missed some plays, but I will be honest. Like it was definitely a game that Michigan controlled line of scrimmage, ran for almost 300. No, I actually think they ran for over 300 yards.
About
So the
310.
better team won. I think Michigan was the better team. They looked better on defense, ran the ball better. I mean, Washington had an explosive offense, and yeah, it was not the best game by Penix, who's a little inaccurate, but the better team won.
As much as I hate to admit that, deny it. I mean, they had 4 rush and over 40 yards. Well, one was for 12 yards, one was for 1 yard. I mean, you can't stop.
Yeah. I mean, Michigan was very good this year. I mean, that's all I can say. Is Michigan had they'd been building up for 2 years, made the playoffs in back-to-back years, back-to-back Big Ten titles, and then this year they definitely proved that they're a really good team. So
That's true. I mean, I can't deny it, and I'm not gonna deny it because when you dominate, think about Saban retiring today.
man, what a bombshell! Like I knew it was going to happen at some point, but my gosh, like talk because it happened the same day that like 2 hours earlier I'm seeing Seahawks move on from Pete Carroll. I'm like, man, that's pretty big news, you know.
Mm-hmm.
First you have what happened the other day? Who got? Well, I mean, like Mike Vrabel. Yeah, you had some
Yep.
news, and you're obviously having the Harbaugh rumors, And then you see that Pete Carroll, there was someone, I'm forgetting someone else. There was someone else the other day that got moved on from that I was a little bit like, I can't think off the top of my head. But, and then all of a sudden it's just like Nick Saban retires.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's massive. And I knew it was going to happen at some point, but I guess I just was not expecting it now. Because, I was going to say because he had a good team coming back next year, but when does Bama not have a good team? So, I mean, I guess that's not
Yeah.
really new. It just is huge news. The best coach in college football history, I think. And we'll see who takes over. There's definitely some names articulating out there. I don't know how much viability to a lot of the names, but there are definitely a lot of names tickling around.
That's true. Yeah, I saw how there were some that were being picked. Like they did say Dan Lane, they did say Caleb
Yep,
DeBoer, they did say Mike
yep,
Norvell. To
yep.
name a few. I mean,
Dabo Sweeney.
whoever's. Yep. One honestly, him or even Norvell. I mean,
Yeah, uh, it, I actually posted this a little bit on Twitter. If I was going to I just had this weird. I always thought Dabo would go back to Alabama. Now his star has dropped a little bit. He's not made the college football playoff the last 3 seasons.
mhm.
Um, after making it 6 seasons in a row. Remember, for seasons there, 6 college football playoff appearances, 4 national title appearances, and 2 national titles. There was other than Nick Saban, Dabo Sweeney, it was Dabo and Nick. But the last 3 years, his star has fallen. I mean, they haven't been terrible. They've been 10-3. What was it? 11-3, and then they were 9-4. They won the ACC last year, but didn't make the college football playoffs. They had definitely fallen off. He hadn't utilized the portal, and definitely this beast that Clemson has taken a step notch down. But he's still Dabo Sweeney, who went to the playoffs 6 years in a row and won 2 national titles. So, and at the end of the day, his alma mater is Alabama. He, he's from there. And if Clemson is, if he doesn't think they appreciate him anymore, why wouldn't he take the best job in college football back to his alma mater? And he's already won his national titles. So the best he can do is, hey, I went back home, became the head coach of my team, my home team, my alma mater. And, if it doesn't turn out, then it just doesn't turn out. Because I almost think that Clemson, I don't think they're going to get back to where they were. It's just, when you just sense the mojo, he's not recruiting the same. He's not getting the same kind of talent. I just don't know if Clemson's ever going to be like, yeah, sure, they might win the ACC once in a while. They might make the 12-team playoff. But I don't think they're ever going to be competing really seriously for the national title in the foreseeable future. So why not start over? And then you'll head to one of the best rosters in college football. Probably Dabo going there would save a lot of that roster. And yeah, he might not be Nick, but he probably will do fine. He'll probably make the college football playoffs a couple times. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, who knows? Maybe he'll win a national title at Alabama. I just think that is kind of where they end up landing. I know you're seeing a lot of their names, and you're seeing Dan Lanning. The thing is, Dan Lanning's been there only for 2 years at Oregon. He's been good. He's recruited well. He's going to probably have a preseason top 5 team. So he'd be leaving a good situation. He's going to Alabama. He's going to be replacing a legend. Doesn't have any particular connection to the area other than he was a GA.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just seems if you had been at Oregon 4 or 5 years, then I would say yeah maybe. But 2 years, I don't know. Same with DeBoer. He's only been there 2 years. Now the only thing about DeBoer is while Lanning's recruiting at a top 5, top 10 level, and like Lanning will have a preseason top 5 team, DeBoer's team is not going to be as good next year. He loses a lot of talent. He doesn't have as much access and resources as like a landing in Oregon, and he's going to the Big Ten, where they're probably definitely behind Ohio State, definitely behind Michigan, Penn State, probably Oregon, and even like USC.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not the top 5 team probably from a resource and recruiting standpoint. Maybe he decides that Alabama is just a better situation, but he's just been there 2 years too. I don't know. And then Norvell would be the one. He's been there 4 years. He just got left out of the playoffs. His school is left in the ACC. That would be an interesting one. I think he would probably take Alabama. Do they think he's good enough? I don't know. The other one's Lane Kiffin. He has the baggage, but he's a pretty good coach. Obviously, an SEC country. My money, if you're going to ask me today, pick someone. I think Dabo Swinney ends up being the coach.
It wouldn't surprise me, other than one laugh when I saw they had him in contention for it was James Franklin.
Yeah, no. No.
Yeah. Now, I know you're for time, but one thing I did want to let you know about, I went back earlier in our preseason picks for the national championship.
Sure.
Yours was Georgia, Clemson, and Oregon, with Georgia winning it all. Yep.
Okay, that was great.
If you think that's bad, well, here's mine. Ohio State, LSU, UCLA, and Clemson. Buckeyes winning it. Yeah, I got no luck on that.
You had UCLA. Oh, okay.
I did. Yep. Bob had Georgia, Penn State, LSU, and Clemson, with Penn State winning.
That's
and then
terrible.
Chris,
Okay.
when Chris did it, he only picked 3 teams. Picked Georgia, and Washington. And
Wow.
his preseason Michigan winning.
He only picked 3 teams, huh?
Yep.
He had to pick a 4.
Nope, he didn't. I went back and listened to it.
Oh, wow. Did he just forget?
No, what I said was at the time there were only 3 teams that he really thought were going to be contenders. We didn't pick a 4th.
I mean, those are. I mean, even Georgia. I mean, Georgia was the best team not in the playoffs. So you know what? Good job for him.
Yeah. So I mean, I did go back and listen to that because he had asked about it last week. So I wanted to make sure that I would be able to beat so
Yeah.
Congrats.
Still never picking. I'm not picking Penn State anymore. James Franklin can't win a big game to save his life. I literally have year after year thought that Penn State might this is the year, and then nope. So never picking them again.
Yeah, no, I mean,
who did
when
so
I saw that,
I picked
like,
so who I picked? I picked who did I pick again?
you picked Georgia, Penn State, Clemson, and Oregon.
Okay, I mean Georgia and Oregon weren't bad picks. They both, if they would have won on championship weekend, they would have been in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm mad about the Clemson and Penn State picks. I'm not mad about, and I think I actually had Oregon beating Washington, and I think I had Georgia beating Alabama. That was my picks. So I was right about the SEC championship and right about the Pac-12 championship. I was just wrong about who won. Or did I have Oregon over USC? I might have Oregon over USC.
You had Oregon. Yeah, you had Oregon over.
Yeah, it was either USC or Washington. But anyways. Yeah, man. So, yeah, big day. Can't really beat the Saban news. Man, can't beat that. Can't beat that for right after Pete Carroll retires. Oh, my goodness.
Well, I mean, they say
we
that
haven't even had Go ahead.
Pete Carroll, what they're going to do is apparently they're going to have him be in a front office role, but it still feels kind of sketchy for him kind of being forced out like that.
What do you mean, sketchy?
Well, I mean, you would have thought Carroll probably would have had another chance, possibly, since I think the thing that got him this year was him not making the playoffs.
Yeah, and you realize right now that okay, Jim Harbaugh still hasn't made a decision, but I think there's a pretty decent chance he leaves Michigan. And Bill Belichick,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a possibility that in one season you have the greatest college football coach retire, you have the
Mhm.
greatest college football coach, professional football coach either retire or they part ways. You have
Mhm.
the current national champion head coach leave, and you have probably the coach who is the most successful as a college coach and an NFL coach in the last century, Pete Carroll, leave. I guess he got fired. I guess, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Um, I mean, that's crazy. All the same year.
Yeah.
Didn't spread it out. They all did it at the same time. I mean, I think Belichick's no longer going to be with New England. I think you're going to find that out in a few days. And I think Harbaugh leaves. I actually think he goes to the Chargers in my prayer. So,
Yeah, no, I went and I read an article that the NCAA president says that Michigan won their championship fair and square, and then he wants to try if Harbaugh the NFL. He thinks that he wants to try to have the Levy and Harbaugh if that's going to work. Yeah, good luck with that.
yeah, good luck. But I think I do think Harbaugh leaves, and um, I think Belichick. I think Belichick. I'm not totally convinced he retires. I think he might move on to a different team.
That's what I think too. I don't think he's going to retire. He may do kind of like how Lombardi did. The Packers and went to Redskins, and he was there for the year. So, but from Mike Vrabel at the Titans, if if they hadn't fired him, they were going to trade him to a different team to coach at a different. But because it take too long, they fired him instead.
Oh. Yeah, I'm just really interested to see what happens with this Alabama. Who's your pick? Who do you have going to Alabama? Where's Bob at tonight?
But actually, he come on and he had a phone call. Going to make it on, but yeah, I was kind of wanting him to
Yeah,
be on
because
just
of
you two
all the
and
nights.
coaches. Exactly, because you two and
Well,
coaches.
I'm gonna see if he can come on right now. I'm gonna message him.
Yeah, no, because
You coming on, man? If he can come on, because I have to go to bed. But if he can come on for a few minutes, I'll talk. Who do you land on
yeah.
for Alabama?
Ivo or Norval, honestly.
So you got to pick one.
Dabo.
So Dabo. That's my
I,
friend who I've been chatting with all night. He landed on Dabo. Bob's gonna land on Lanning, but luckily he was so far off with.
that's,
Um,
I mean,
unlike, and I'm not ruling out possibility. I mean, if Lanning, he could get offered and he could take it. I also could see him not getting the offer and then just give it to someone else. I also could see him actually turning it down. And people are like, "How can you turn down Bama?" Well, if you're at a good job and and instead you have an opportunity to leave for a different job, but you're following a legend, which is going to have immense more pressure, and you already have a good job, you might not do it
yeah.
because it's not just Lanning, it's DeBoer, it's Kiffin, it's Norvell. I mean, those are all
Mm-hmm.
decent jobs. I have a hard time seeing Kiffin say no. At this point, because of what happened with Florida State and being stuck in the ACC, I have a hard time seeing Norvell say no.
Yeah.
DeBoer is a little bit more of an awkward fit, and he's only been in Washington 2 years. He just played for the national championship. I
Mm-hmm.
could see him saying no. But there is a little bit of a resource issue, and I think they're not in the top 5 teams when it comes to recruiting in the Big Ten. Could that make DeBoer say, hey, Alabama is just going to get better players? That's my question there. And then the landing, it's Alabama. He was a GA there. It is probably the best job in college football, the most storied program. You have all that, but he gets paid good at Oregon. He has some of the best NLI money at Oregon. He has some of the best resources at Oregon. He's only been there 2 years, so there's a lot of reasons that he wouldn't. And then Dabo. Honestly, the thing is like at this point, Dabo's done all he can do at Clemson. Like, what more does he have to prove to Clemson? And some of the luster has lost its like goo. I mean, I don't know how you want to put it, but he, he's fallen down a little bit. The fan base has been a little bit whiny. He remember he responded in that one interview to that caller, and he got irritated. So he has some fans that haven't appreciated the 6 straight playoff runs, the 2 national titles, and he gets to go back home to his alma mater. And he would be the one, like, they offer Norvell. Norvell's like, I got Florida State and I have to follow the legend. They offer DeBoer. DeBoer's like, yeah, I get to coach Alabama, but I have to follow the legend. They offer Lanning, But Dab was like, who cares? It's my alma mater. I've already won 2 national titles. Maybe I am not as successful. What am I going to lose? I'll just lose like. I just don't see. It seems like he has less to lose. He's already won the Natties. He's already done everything he can at Clemson. But will he be the first pick? I could see him not being because of how he's failed to embrace the portal. I don't think he's braced NLI as good. Are they like, sorry, you have to brace those things, Dabo, and if you don't agree to it, then maybe he won't. He seems like a stubborn person. He likes doing things his own way. And then in that case, then they would offer the other guys, and I just don't know if they all will turn it down because it is Alabama. It's interesting. I just don't, and then we're not even bringing up NFL guys. We're not bringing up Mike Vrabel. You know.
True. Well, I would think Vrabel would go to the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, or he'd wait for Ohio State to open up.
Oh yeah,
But we're not bringing up Mike Vrabel. We're not in Ohio State. You have to think, is Day going to be there a lot longer? We'll see how this year turns out. And then but then Vrabel will probably have taken a job by then. So then maybe that's not as much a thing. But D'Amico Ryan. Who was D'Amico Ryan a All-American for?
That's true.
Who was he an All-American for? Who's done a tremendous job in his first year as the Houston head coach?
Oh yeah,
led a crappy team to the playoffs. I mean they were dog doo-doos for the last several years, and they're in the playoffs. So you can't rule out that, and it is Alabama. He is going to get paid more.
That's true. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Bob Alvis here too now.
Bob!
Well, why am I here? I think I know now.
Well, I was about ready to head off, and then I'm like, no, we have to talk for 5-10 minutes about coaching.
Because we couldn't get Dan Lanning on tonight?
I know that's your prediction, and luckily you were so off with the Texas A&M one that I hope that is your prediction. Then it probably won't happen.
Hey, I got a question. How right were you on the Texas A&M one?
I literally said Mike Elko.
I thought you said cousin Jeff.
No, I said Mike Elko.
Okay. Well,
I said I wanted Jeff Traylor to get it, but no, I did not think. Right, Alan? Remember I said that?
Correct.
I think we'll go to Mike Elko, but I said I want Traylor, but I didn't think they'd offer him, and they did.
Okay. Well, I want Dan Lanning. I think it'll go to Dan Lanning.
Good. You're probably gonna be wrong, which is awesome.
Well, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I mean, I'll own it. So what was the debate here, real quick?
Oh, we made our prediction. We both picked Dabo.
See, I think that's the last. I don't think it's going to be Dabo. I could be totally wrong because I normally am, but I don't see it being Dabo.
Why?
I mean, I just don't. I mean, why? I don't see him. I think honestly, I think Alabama would have to go down the list to get to Dabo. And by the way, I do like what you said about D'Amico Ryans. I don't know if you were promoting him for Alabama, but I think that's a good call.
He played for the Tide. He did a heck of a job in his first year. Okay, so people are saying this about Dabo. Dabo did win 2 national titles.
I agree.
He did go to the playoffs 6 years in a row.
Did you hear me say Dabo was an idiot?
No, but it's like down the list. Like, how far down do you have to go? Like, so let's say Lanning doesn't work out. So then you go to who?
Well, I mean, we all know who call number 1 is. Don't we?
I assume you're saying Lanning.
No, call number 1's Kirby.
Oh yeah, well he's a no. So let's go to who's called up.
Wait a minute. This is the thing. If you're Alabama, and I'm not saying Kirby would say yes. I mean, I don't just dismissively say it's a no like you do. But if you're Alabama, if you want to get somebody attractive, you've got to throw out money right away. You can't make this a whole, poop show to where we're going to get the 5th pick. That's not going to work. And this is Alabama, like I said. Which, by the way, before Saban got there, it wasn't like it was the greatest show on earth, because Mike Shula and I want to say, was it Dennis Franchione?
Yep. Yeah. And then it was Mike Price.
Yeah. Did Alabama, I forget, did they hire somebody for like 10 seconds and it didn't work out and he never coached the game?
Mike Price, he got caught at the club.
So, I mean, if you're Alabama, if you want to keep the tradition of Nick Saban, and I'm not saying Nick Saban was overrated, but I think Nick Saban hit the gold mine, and I think Alabama hit the gold mine too. I think it was a match made in heaven to where it worked out. If you're Alabama and you want to be serious about this, and you want to get somebody that you think can carry on the tradition, whether it's Dan Lanning or anybody else, you got to throw money. I mean, this is not you can't be asking like a D'Amico Ryans take a hometown discount just because you have Tuscaloosa pride. I mean, if that's the case, let's go for heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder, who's never coached the game, but I'm sure he'd love to wear an Alabama, hoodie.
And I agree with you. So I have a couple questions from 2 different perspectives. One perspective, and I heard a couple of the more reputable college football guys say this. The one problem with Alabama right now is the next coach is literally following the greatest coach in college football history. So that's a lot of pressure. So while it's Alabama, it's in the SEC, it's the most storied program, or one of the most storied in college football history. You're following the greatest coach. You can really not go anywhere up, and you can go pretty far down. So there's that reality. That's number one. Okay, let's deal with that one, and then I'm going to kick back on a couple people that are considered contenders and why I don't think Alabama might necessarily go for them first. So let's hit that one first. What I just said. So you're a coach, you're going to Alabama, but you're following the greatest NFL coach. Sorry, NFL. I'm tired.
I know what you're
greatest
saying.
College football coach in college football history. And you get to follow him, and all you can do is go down. And this is a couple other college. Tom Pernelli said it, Bud Elliott said it. A couple others made this argument.
I get the point. I don't know that I 100% agree with that in terms of I don't know that that's going to be the factor of me not taking the job type of thing. I mean, I still think you can come out a winner. Even in public limelight, even if you don't do what Nick Saban did necessarily. I mean, let's be honest, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I could argue the playoff is going to be easier to get to with 12 than 4.
Yeah, but okay, easier to get to. But if you're not winning national titles,
sure. Absolutely,
at Alabama,
you're right.
Yeah.
But I mean, let me again, and I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. But the bar at Alabama for Saban was set very low. So, I mean, I get where you're going with that, and I don't 100% disagree with you. But unless you just go out and lay a big fat egg, I don't think you're considered a failure. But, I mean, with coachings that I've seen moves lately, I mean, it makes me scratch my head and wonder well, gosh, you're firing that guy, and all he had done was ABC and had one bad year. Granted, it can happen in Alabama too.
Mike Vrabel, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's been some ridiculous. Hey, Pete Carroll today.
Yeah.
It's getting so. Yeah, so Alabama. Imagine if a guy comes out and has an 8-4 season. That's his first 2 seasons. He might get fired at Alabama. I'd actually say he would. And that an 8-4 in the SEC. That's, I mean, you have LSU, you have Georgia, you have Texas, you have Oklahoma. I mean, you have Ole Miss. I mean, 8-4 is possible. So you have 2 8-4 seasons. You're fired at Alabama. So that's number one. Number two, your point you made, and I think you make a decent point. Alabama's going to throw big money to continue on what Saban did. So what did Saban do? Won 6 national titles. Won, 8, 9, 10 SEC titles. Made the college football playoff in the 10 years that it's been around. I think, was it 8 times? Okay. Why would they go for Dan Lanning, who's been a head coach for 2 years? Why would they go for Kalen DeBoer, who's been a head coach for 2 years? If you're saying that, I get the Kirby Smart. I get Dabo Swinney. We can say what we want. He made the college football playoff 6 years in a row, played for 4 national titles, and won 2. I would get Ryan Day, who's made the college football playoff 3 times. I'm just wondering where going after a coach that's been a coach for 2 years.
Right. Well, I never said Kalen DeBoer.
Well, you said Dan Lanning.
I know.
Kalen DeBoer played for the national title. Dan Lanning hasn't even won the Pac-12.
I mean, are you asking me what's the difference?
Yeah.
Dan Lanning has SEC experience. Dan Lanning's got the SEC pedigree. I mean, I don't see Alabama. Let's be honest. You, I, Alan, and everybody else. I mean, Alabama's a different world from where we live. I mean, I'm sure it's different in the board of Bama E's people who are making the decision and whatnot. I'm sure that they think much higher of Alabama even than you do. And you just said 2 8-4 seasons, you're going to get fired.
And so you're going to hire a guy that's going to coach for 2 years and couldn't even win the Pac-12?
So I'm going to hire a SEC guy as opposed to a foreigner who made the national title, who's had no experience whatsoever in the South.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, we're just comparing Lanning and
Kalen
right now, right?
Okay, yeah. Let's go for a couple other guys. Wouldn't you first before Lanning? I'm just because you said Lanning's gonna be the head coach, so I'm throwing out some other names. Okay, why not Mike Norvell?
Oh, I don't think that's a bad. I don't think that's a bad one either.
How about Lane Kiffin?
Yeah,
he coached at Alabama. How about Steve Sarkisian?
That would be my third choice. It goes Lanning, Norvell, and Sark for me.
I think Norvell was Allen's second pick, wasn't it? And then I actually might be mine too. If I actually didn't say Dabo, it might be Norvell because Norvell would take it, especially with Florida State going to the ACC. What happened getting left out of the playoff this year? And I think Norvell would be a decent hire for Alabama.
Let me ask a quick question.
That's not a
Is
bad
this
one.
just about wins and losses to you guys?
What's wins and losses?
No, I said, are you just hiring on Alabama based on wins and losses? Are you looking for bravado? Are you looking for this kind of like, I don't want to say the Harbaugh us against the world mentality? What are you looking for?
Well, I mean, 8-4 and 8-4 gets you fired, so you have to you've had to win.
So no Jimbo, we got that out.
But the thing is, though, the first years of Florida State, good, and they gave him a shot.
He inherited a dumpster.
Yeah, it's from what Tiger left him, and to his garbage. So no, Bob, it's not just about that.
Okay. I mean, because if you're hiring on wins and losses, and I'm not trying to get my boy fired up here, but if you're hiring on wins and losses, then I don't see how you can't put Kalen DeBoer on the list. I don't, because, I mean, he's a winner. Granted, it's been a short-term winner, but he's won at other levels
everywhere,
too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to take a quote unquote guy who's gone from the outhouse to the penthouse, what about Lance Leipold? But this is
I just
Alabama.
can't. Yeah,
Right.
actually, that would be
Yeah.
a great hire because I think if you gave him that roster, I think Lance Leipold would be very good. But I could see the Alabama fan base just like literally rioting, even though it doesn't make any sense because he's a very good coach. I just don't see them.
And then I think you put yourself too into a little bit, and you might disagree with me. I think you almost put yourself into the age thing. Do we want a guy that this is going to be his last job, or do we want a guy that we could realistically say is here for 20 years? You know what I'm saying?
I got another one for you guys to think about. What about Dan Mullen?
I don't think so.
No, no, they would. I mean, This is a. That's what I'm saying. This job is kind of like. Because when you're saying these good coaches, and I'm like, no, the Alabama fan base would riot. I mean, it's like that's how ridiculously high the standard is, and then you have to match a guy that 8 playoff appearances, 6 national titles in 15 years. There's a weird echo, by the way. I don't know. It's crazy. But then we're like, yeah, I see Dan Lanning. I'm following like everyone else. I'm like, he's been a coach for 2 years.
Right. But
Yet he would actually probably yes because he's a good recruiter. He seems to have someone that has massive potential. And yeah, I think Oregon's going to be very good as long as he stays there. And probably be fine if he leaves. But people I guess are willing to think that's a fine hire. So.
But you got to get into, I think too, and we've talked about this 100 times. I mean, do you need it? You got to have a guy that's not only going to recruit out of high school, but you got to have a guy that's going to recruit the portal. And I'm not at all saying Nick Saban quit because he didn't want to recruit the portal. I'm not saying that at all. But you can't just say, "Well, I'm going to go get the 5 stars and to heck with the portal." You can't do that.
That is the one gripe with Dabo.
Yeah,
because Dabo, yeah, he would have to come to some kind of agreement that he was gonna do things different at Alabama. But like I was saying, you weren't on the call yet. For Dabo, it makes sense. He's done everything he can at. I mean, how successful Clemson in, right? The old comic Clemson in. What did he do to Clemson? 6 straight playoff appearances, 4 national title appearances, and 2 national titles. Like, what more is he going to accomplish? All he can do is go downhill, which he has been doing. And so why wouldn't he go back to his alma mater? So I think it's a no-brainer. If Alabama goes after Dabo will take the job. And I actually think it's a perfectly fine hire. I actually think he could win a national title at Alabama.
But I think you and Alan brought up a good point, too. Alan brings up names that are not coaching right now. You're bringing up NFL names. This is not just limited to people who are coaching college football currently.
D'Amico Ryans is an interesting one.
I actually, that's the first I heard of it, but the more I think about it, the more and more interested, more and more I like it. I mean, I don't know what Mike Vrabel's recruiting status would be. I have no idea. I mean, from a football mentality, I like Vrabel.
Yeah,
I mean, shoot, and I'm not saying this guy should be the head coach. I don't hate Bill O'Brien from a college perspective. I don't know if it would work, but I'd rather have Bill O'Brien coaching in Alabama than I would the Patriots. I'd rather have him in a college environment than I would in NFL. But if we get to Bill O'Brien, we're going way down the list.
Yeah, let's hope not. Let's hope it don't go down that far because we're definitely screwed if we do that. That it looks like we lost Tyler, but it looked as it was. So I mean, I was definitely glad we got to have him on for a few minutes, just because with how Saban was. He was one of the only coach to win a national championship in 3 different decades. I had gone over his stats earlier and just seeing how the landscape at Alabama is something.
What were you going to talk about before this happened today?
I was just going to championship game, honestly.
Right.
That and then let's see. I was gonna. Here we go.
Something happened?
Welcome back.
You hit the wrong button again.
No, I got kicked out.
I've told you, red is not good. Don't hit that red button.
No, I got kicked out.
No, it was weird. I hit nothing. All of a sudden, you were here. The next second, you were gone.
I kept saying good words about you. I wouldn't have done that if I'd known you weren't here.
Cheers. Yeah, I got nixed off, and now I'm not. Now I can't even get on my headset. So whatever.
No, I mean that was why when you and me were talking about for different coaches, and Bob could jump on. You really think I was going to pass this up to her? Come on, man.
Where were we at?
I talked about Bill O'Brien.
No,
I said if we go to Bill O'Brien, we're way far down the list, but I'd rather have him in college at Alabama than in the pros.
True. I think he's a better college.
And I
Yeah,
also
'cause
said I don't know Mike Vrabel's recruiting talents, but I think he could work.
Well, I mean, one that could be a dark horse. Ohio State's offensive coordinator, the wide receiver coach. Wouldn't be surprised. Well, I'm not saying for Alabama, but
there's no way. Yeah, he might be for like.
I'm saying Alabama yet, but I'm saying another school will probably get him within the next year or two.
I mean, I'm sure. But.
Did you talk about the other coach that went undefeated this year?
You mean Jim Harbaugh?
No, the other one.
Did.
The one that played in the Fiesta Bowl.
Oh, Jim. Oh no, he's not going. No.
I had to do that. It was too perfect.
Yeah, Jamie's not going to be getting the Alabama offer. He did have a great year, but
well, I don't know if you remember and I don't know if Alan will remember too. I even have a shirt that says "I said no to Dean" because when Dean Smith retired from North Carolina, it became, and I think it was when I can't remember if it was before Bill Guthridge or after. That became a mess because you had 10 people turning down North Carolina basketball, which is the equivalent of turning down Alabama football at the time.
Yeah. It's following a legend. I'm telling you, you're going to have some people that don't want that job because of that. They would rather be the person after
the guy.
Yeah.
Right. And did you ever answer my question? Does age matter?
Would you say that again?
Age, how old we are. Does that matter in the fact of if you're Alabama, do you want a guy that's older, maybe in his 60s, who's looking at this as his last job, or do you want a guy in his 40s, 50s who could be there 20 years?
Well, I'm thinking Dabo lands the job. And how old's Dabo?
Not young.
He's not old either, though.
He's older than younger.
He's 54, but he could honestly probably he's in good health. He could coach. I mean, Saban's 72.
Yeah,
I was kind of confused why they brought that up about a 72-year-old retiring. I'm like, if he's 55, I can understand. But you mentioned Nick Saban, 72 retires. I mean, that's like near retirement age. I don't want people 73.
So Dabo would be the same age as when Nick took the job. So that's not old. 54.
I feel like Dabo's got more miles on the tracker, though. To be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, because he's been around since Dan Lanning. So if you want to go young, yep, you go with Dan. You're not going to get younger than Dan. Obviously, another young guy is DeBoer's fairly. Well, no, how old's Kalen?
I like Dan. Dan's got a fire in him, though. Dan's got that bravado that I feel like Alabama would want.
You just want Lanning. Oh, DeBoer's 49. Yeah.
Okay, can I have you?
Yeah, why are you taking my one team's coach away?
Can I have you take your Oregon hat off for just a second? Just a minute.
I don't think he gets. I don't think he's the one that gets the job.
No, you don't even
Why?
know where the question's going. I just need you to take your hat off for just 1 minute. Dan Lanning has got the arrogance and bravado about him that can go into a situation like an Alabama or like if there were others. And I don't want to call it a Harbaugh gruffness, but Dan's got that, Dan's got that like chip a little bit, I think. Dan's got that bravado.
And as much as I like Dan Lanning, he's 0-3 against Washington. Against teams that finished in the final top 25, he is 1 he's like 2-5. As much as I like him, and as much as he's whooped up on a lot of teams that he's been better than, and he's recruited very well, he has lost all of the games against the better teams.
In my Dan Lanning defense, I would like to say one thing. I have only mentioned Dan Lanning for the SEC jobs because Dan Lanning has been there. You have not heard me mention another person. For
You
any of
were
these
so
SEC
wildly
jobs.
off. He was not even remote. He wasn't remotely interested, and it wasn't even under consideration with A&M. You're like, he's going to get the A&M job. He didn't interview, and he wasn't under.
A&M moved a lot faster than I thought they would, though. I think they could have milked that out a little bit. I mean, I almost think they settled for Elko, to be honest with you.
He's a good coach.
I didn't say he was a bad coach, but I just think we could have turned.
It's not Alabama. I mean,
We could have turned this into, well, yeah, but they can pay. We could have turned this into a, let's scout around and see who's going to turn us down type of thing first.
Sure they can pay, but when have they won?
Dude, I think money speaks a lot louder than wins sometimes. I really do.
These guys are competitors at the end of the day.
You and I argue about this with your cohort every now and again too, Nick Pierce. We argue about money versus other
because
stuff.
at the end of the day, these are competitors. These guys get in it to win.
Well, I like
yeah,
money.
they want it. Yes, they want to get paid, but they also want to win.
I don't think you're becoming a loser if you go to an SEC school unless you go to Vanderbilt.
No, but I'm just saying A&M still has been a job that historically coaches like Jimbo Fisher haven't won at. I mean, it's just not a place that has had consistent winners.
For a while, I'll agree.
Whereas Alabama, obviously, at least in recent years, and just even its history, has had a lot of winners. So, well,
I'll go with 2.
Next week, when Dabo Swinney's the new head coach, what are you going to owe us, Bob?
I'll do something nice.
So okay,
Hey.
top 3. You got Lanning. Who's your backup 2?
Man, I really want to put D'Amico Ryans in there now, to be honest with you.
If he loses on Sunday, yeah.
From a logical standpoint, I would, and I'm just going off what I've heard rumored so far. I mean, my top 3 would be Lanning, Norville, and Sark.
And your top 3 is what, Alan?
Sweeney, Norvell, and
Ryan Day.
no, not Ryan Day. No,
Oh no,
Sweeney,
cracked me up.
Norvell, and
Lincoln Riley.
I'll say Sweeney, Norvell, and Jim.
No, really?
I can't get on the Lane train for Alabama. I just can't.
I would say mine is Sweeney. No, it's good. Sweeney, Norvell, and sure, I'll say Dan Lanning.
Hey, Turner, I got a question for you before you bounce off. Who's coaching Michigan next year?
Oh, Shamar Moore.
Okay. Interesting. I think it could be Jim Harbaugh still.
No.
Okay.
No.
If Jim Harbaugh goes, he's going for
Chargers.
It's going to be a couple jobs, right? Chargers or Raiders in my eyes. Nobody
Chargers.
else.
Chargers. They have a top 10 quarterback.
Oh, I agree. And dude, I mean, out of every job that's open, San Diego is the most attractive to me. No questions.
Man, that's odd since they don't have a team.
Or whatever, LA Chargers. Dude, I'd probably still rather coach in San Diego than some openings that they actually have.
Yeah, if Jim Harbaugh is back at Michigan, I'll give you $100.
Okay, that's nice. I guess if Dan Lanning goes, I'll even it out.
No, I'll literally give you $100. Jim
Oh,
Harbaugh's not.
That's
Jim
not
Harbaugh's,
necessary.
Jim Harbaugh is totally gone.
He's been very non-committal about coming back.
Yeah, I mean, and it just look at what's like. I was talking to Alan. You're going to have the best. You had the best coach in college football history retire. You're probably going to have the best coach in NFL history either retire or move to another team. Bill Belichick. You have the best coach that did well at both college and pros. Pete Carroll. He got fired today. And you're going to have the current national champion coach probably leave the NFL. All in the same year. All in the same dang season.
That's odd. That's odd and crazy.
Where does Belichick land? Alabama?
You know,
That'd be one. You said old. You mentioned old.
who?
Belichick to Bama.
I don't think so. I don't. You know,
Washington.
I a lot of times, and I think I can't remember who I've told this to. Maybe everybody that'll listen to me. If you're going to get rid of your coach, you need to have a list of 3 that you got it. One of them is going to accept it, and like especially Seattle and Tennessee bother me the most. You got rid of Vrabel for what?
Yeah.
This is going to become to me.
Stupid. Yeah.
You're not going to get anybody better, in my opinion, than Vrabel right now. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
And same thing for Seattle. I mean, I'm not a fan of necessarily older people still continuing to coach, but Pete Carroll has shown no decline whatsoever. I want to say he's in his 70s, but
72.
you know, why? What? I mean, for what reason?
Well, I mean, I think because they're, you know what? I think they're trying. I think some of these college coaches are looking at jumping because of how college football has turned into the Wild Wild West with NIL, and transfer portal.
Who's the last college coach that made a successful jump to the NFL?
Jim Harbaugh.
I was thinking Pete Carroll.
Yeah. Well,
Carroll.
but Harbaugh jumped after Carroll. Remember? You said last one.
But see,
Yeah,
I don't think Harbaugh had the success in college that Carroll did. Though is my point. Not saying Harbaugh wasn't successful. I'm not trying to say that at all.
He won a national title.
Well, not at this point. Not when he jumped.
Oh, I get it. Okay. You're saying when he jumped. Okay,
Right.
I get you.
That's what the conversation was about. Pete Carroll won a national title at USC and
Well,
jumped,
remember, actually, he started in the NFL, went to college, and then went back to the NFL.
Right. And if Harbaugh does great after he goes back this time, I'll be waving this flag too. But I mean, it happens. How did Nick Saban do when he jumped to pros?
He didn't even give it time.
But he was a good college. He was a very good. It was probably I think similar to Harbaugh.
Like, you don't think someone like Ryan Day or Lincoln Riley would have some success in the NFL? I think they actually might be a little better in the NFL.
What's your definition of success? 9-7?
Making the playoffs. Yeah, I think they're tremendous offensive minds, similar to I'm forgetting McVay, the guy that coaches out in Miami, McDaniel. Like the guy who coaches at Minnesota, like great offensive minds, get a good quarterback. Like put Lincoln Riley for the Chargers, right? I think they'd be pretty good. I think they'd have a terrific offense.
I'm sure Lincoln Riley would want to put Lincoln Riley at the Chargers. I don't doubt that for a minute.
He's not going to get it. But,
Right.
or put Ryan Day with like Washington when they drafted Drake May. I mean, I actually think there is a few coaches that I think might be better in the NFL than they are in college. And actually, I'm thinking of Ryan Day and Lincoln Riley. They're great play callers, and they're great offensive minds. I don't know if they're as good at the head coaching stuff when it comes to the whole program culture building.
I would have to honestly, and I'm not trying to scapegoat here. I would honestly have to see the success before I would say do it because it's such a copycat league. I think recently it's been more of hot coordinators are the ones that get hired over the college coaches. So, I personally would probably not hire Ryan Day or Lincoln Riley, but I'm not the one making that decision. But who knows? Maybe David Tepper in Carolina hires one of them.
Oh my gosh!
I wouldn't want to go
to Carolina. Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't want to go there for anything.
No, I'd go to.
Well, maybe he can keep his drink first.
See, I think Washington is. Did the Bears fire their coach?
No, they fired the coordinator.
Okay, so I
They
would
fired
think.
coordinators. Yeah, they kept him.
Okay, so if I was going to pick, see, people are sleeping on Washington because Washington's going to have the number 2 pick. They're going to get Drake May or Caleb Williams, so they will have a franchise quarterback. So that I think that's a decent job.
And who's to say the Bears will keep number 1? I've seen rumors
Yeah,
trading
they do
down
have-
with Atlanta.
I don't love Fields though as an NFL quarterback.
I don't know how you can give up totally on him yet, though. Is my thing.
I've seen him for 3 years. I think he's limited as a passer.
Well, if the Bears make a trade with Atlanta gets up to take the 1 pick. I think Atlanta becomes a very interesting NFL job.
Yeah, that's open.
Very interesting.
You know
And
they
I mean,
reached out to Kirby Smart. I've seen
It's
that.
not like the Bears are trash because the Bears are going to have a top. What do they have? A top 5 pick this year, outside of the one they were gifted from Carolina.
Yep.
Did you hear what I just said? Did you hear the Falcons reached out to Kirby Smart?
I did.
I thought that was funny.
I'd listen.
I mean, Kirby's just got the college football thing down so good. I don't get why he would listen. But I could see, I mean, college football, like, okay, right now you're a coach. Would you rather coach in the NFL or the modern college football?
I'd rather coach in the NFL.
Yeah. And I'm the biggest college football fan. You wouldn't have gotten me to say this my whole life. I would have been like college football all day, all day. But if you told me right now, I'm like, nah, probably NFL. Because the college football is just like too much the wild, wild west. You do all this hard recruiting, the person transfers after like 1 semester.
I don't want to
It's just-
recruit. That's my big thing. I
No,
don't have any interest.
See, I would love to recruit, but it just pissed me off when they leave. It's like, oh, I'm not starting right away.
No,
And
I'm
then-
saying now I don't want to recruit because
because
like
of
you said,
yeah.
no interest.
So what do you think Lincoln Riley's thinking? What do you think Ryan Day's thinking? I mean,
I don't think Ryan Day's thinking. I think Lincoln Riley's probably thinking. And what I mean by that is I think Lincoln Riley took the job at
Alan, you didn't even laugh at that.
Well, here's what I meant by that. Don't try to get strife going between me and Alan. I think
Alan, what are you gonna do about that?
I think that Lincoln Riley
Ryan
took the
Day's
SC
throwing up
job, looking at it as a springboard.
right now after what happened.
Yeah, I get it. No, I think Lincoln Riley. Actually, I saw an article recently that the individual writing it said they know firsthand knowledge that Lincoln Riley wants to go to the NFL.
I don't
But-
think Ryan Day took the Ohio State job as saying, I wonder when the Bengals will call.
Well, you know, he started off as an NFL coach.
Right. No, but not a head coach, obviously.
No, but he started out his coaching career started in the NFL. So anytime that a person was in the NFL, there is always that tendency to like, and he is a good offensive mind, and that kind of, I mean, like you look at the good offensive play callers, and they usually in the NFL have moderate success.
I think everybody has ego to want to coach where they haven't been successful just to prove I can do it there. Type of thing. Why do you think Urban Meyer took the Jags job? Obviously, it was for money, but I mean, what else could he have done in college? Well, no, what else could he have done in college?
No, I know. I mean, that was just. I'm just thinking about what a disaster it was.
I mean, after you win national titles, I think a lot of
So are
it kind of
people
can
really
become,
not going to talk
what else
about
can I
Urban
do?
Meyer? By the way, are people really not going to mention Urban Meyer for Alabama?
Let go roll tide. Have fun with that one.
He's won 3 natties. Sorry.
Roll tide.
Not touching
Well,
that one.
when Dabo comes out, don't be.
I will gladly say you were right if Dabo goes to Bama.
Will you say I'm right if Bill Belichick goes to Bama?
Sure. And I'll say I'm wrong if Dan Lanning doesn't.
I don't think Landon is the one that gets it.
Well,
I'm not even necessarily. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he gets it. I'm not necessarily saying he turns it down. I just think they end up hiring someone else.
I feel like I'm the biggest Dan Lanning fan in the room right now.
I like Dan
Usually
Lanning.
you are.
He has not. He has not won some big games. I'm just saying it.
You know, it's
Oh, yeah.
funny
all he
because
had to do was win the Pac-12 championship, and they're in the playoffs. And more than likely, they would have played Michigan for the national title, and they lost.
And you know that's the funny thing I find is Liberty talked about how bad of a showing they had in the Fiesta Bowl type of thing. You were facing a team that was arguably a few plays away from being in the playoff, maybe in the championship.
Yeah, top 16 for sure.
I mean, like
It was one of the worst draws that Liberty could have gotten.
but it's
like-
not like Oregon was some schmo team that just
Yeah.
backed in.
It was like the worst. It was like Georgia or Oregon. Liberty was going to get smashed by. It would have been much better if Liberty would have drawed Ole Miss or Penn State or Missouri or Florida State. But,
I think they could have arguably beaten Penn State.
I mean, I think they could have been a lot more competitive.
But
The only other team they would have got smoked by Georgia too.
Yeah, I don't think that would have been good.
No.
I know.
So Oregon and Georgia's two worst. Like, I was on the field. I mean, they were just getting absolutely way too fast, way too big. Yeah.
Well, and one thing we have learned too, if you are going to go in the portal, you can have a whoops, I'm going to change my mind and come right back.
Yep, you can. And you know what? Caden did his thing. Saw what was out there, and they decided to stay at Liberty. It's good. Let's see what CJ Daniels does.
Yeah, I think that's a fish that could hurt a lot, and that could make
he's actually taking an official to Oregon, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that.
That could make Oregon very happy, I think.
But he's also visiting LSU, and he visited Florida and Texas. He's not coming back.
He's a good player. He's a really good player.
He's like, yeah, I know. He was good against Oregon. And Kobe Singleton went to Oregon State. Now, Kobe was a little more. I was a little surprised I don't know. He's a solid corner, but when I saw him play against the better teams, including Oregon, he got beat pretty good. So.
Do you like Preston Hodge?
Oh, very good. Yeah, he was the best DB.
Who was the other guy that left?
Reese.
I thought there was somebody else that left to went to D1. I know Bennett didn't.
What? D1? We are in D1. What are you talking about?
No. That went to another D1 school. Bennett went down, is what I'm saying.
Oh, Kindy Charles.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
Where did Kindy Charles end up?
I can't remember. Because I know Hodge went to Colorado, right?
Oh, wait. Charles might have stayed. No.
Hodge went to Colorado?
Yes.
Singleton went to Oregon State, you said?
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I was thinking of, when I said D1, I meant like a move up to like a P5.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, technically P2, I think, like, so Oregon State, I guess, is P2. And Hodge, Colorado.
Right. I mean, you know.
That's it. I think those are the only two that. And then, yeah, I think some other ones went sideways.
I'm not a fan of the portal, but I think it's doing what it's helping people.
And I think Liberty had a couple guys come from a Power 5, didn't they?
I think so. I know they have in the past. Don't ask me who they are, but you know.
Oh, they've had several. Jay Hardy, yeah, Salter and Jay Hardy.
Yeah,
Jay Hardy was a 4-star at Auburn. Let me see, Liberty transfer portal, and then I do gotta go, guys.
Sam Houston.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wake Forest. They had a defensive lineman from Wake Forest transfer in.
See
where they rank right now when it comes to Conference USA.
Well, I read something in the too early for 2024 top 25. Liberty is the group of 6 choice again.
I have seen Liberty, but I've also seen Tulane. I've also seen Boise. Actually, a lot of people are really high on Boise right now.
They should be.
Well, because they got Malachi Nelson transfer.
Not every day you get something like that falling in.
Yeah, and then they also had another good guy. They had like a former top 100 and then a 5-star.
And I'm surprised Boise didn't get a bigger name to coach.
Who did they get again?
Exactly.
It was our offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah. I honestly thought there might be an outside shot I don't think Kellen, but isn't Kellen's brother like a big deal
Yeah.
somewhere?
Yeah, he's the offensive coordinator for Missouri.
So,
Yeah, I was a little surprised too.
Real quick before you go, Betty, what's your opinion of the Missouri coach?
Oh, he's good.
Bama good?
Oh, wait a minute. Why hasn't he come up? He's
I
a
just
pretty
brought him
good.
up.
Yeah. Young guy. Why wouldn't Alabama consider him?
Maybe they would.
Could you? Okay, we have all these names up there. Do you see a wild card?
I feel like I need a board in my house to put all the names on there. I don't see a wild card, but I didn't see Lincoln Riley going to USC either.
Who would be your wild card? Let's say someone that you feasibly could see landing there, but that people are not really talking about.
I'm trying to think of somebody. I don't want to think of like a Dennis Franchione type of person. Correct me if I'm wrong. There is no Rooney Rule in college football.
Correct.
Okay. You know, I don't know. I mean, this is going to sound really, really stupid, and I might not mean this guy, but if you really want to hit the younger route, do you look at like a person the age of or around the age of like a Beamer at SC? I'm not saying him, but is there anybody in that ilk, or is it Dan Lanning?
Yeah, Lanning.
Okay,
Man, you really want the young dude. I mean, the thing about taking a young guy is there is a risk of just immaturity and actually just not being ready.
Sure, but you can't be doing this again in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, even when Oregon went with Lanning, I was like, I know I like what I see. He's a good speaker. You can tell he'd be a good recruiter. But, like, is he going to be immature as a coach? And is his program going to act immature? Now, I've been impressed for the most part. But, yeah, it's one thing. Like, you're going to go from Saban to a really young. I don't know.
Again,
Dabo Swinney's interesting.
I don't think you can be doing this again in 4 or 5 years. I don't. I mean, I think that's a failure if you're having to do this again.
Well, you're making that risk because someone might not be as good as Saban.
Well, but see, here's the thing.
How in the world can you not avoid that?
You know, I mean, this is the thing I looked at. Like in the NFL, Rich McKay has been the CEO, GM of the Falcons for a while now.
Okay.
And I get 28-3 in the Super Bowl happens. I get that. But how many coaches have you gone through? And I never hear him get threatened to go. I mean, at some point, you've got to make – if you're just making hires where you're having to get somebody every 4 or 5 years, that's on the AD/decision maker.
I have – and I got to go after this. I have one other kickback. How old is Nick Saban?
72.
Okay. So he recruited all these people, and he's coached all these people. He's recruited all the players coming in, and he's coached all these kids on the roster, correct?
Yep.
So they go from a 72-year-old grandfather to a 37-year-old individual like Dan Lanning. Do you think that's a little bit of a different kind? Like, how would that be continuation of what Saban's doing?
I think Dan Lanning can win over people with the rah-rah stuff.
I think you're just wanting to push Lanning out. This is true.
Well, I mean, but see, I'm going bravado, too, with Alabama. I'm going that you've got to get that guy in there that's going to be like.
And you don't want Lane Kiffin?
I don't, personally. But if I had to go, since I know you got to go, my wild card is Bill O'Brien.
Who's your wild card, Alan?
Matt
Jim
Rule.
Harbaugh.
Oh my God! You know what?
Yep.
You said wild card.
Yeah, you never know. He's a good coach. Continuation. He can coach. Yeah. That's a wild card.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a wild card. That's not a bad one though. I actually think between your two, if I was going to judge, I think Matt Rule makes more sense than than Bill O'Brien. My wild card is D'Amico Ryan.
I like your wild card better than any of them.
And he's a young guy, but he's an Alabama guy. And you have to admit, he did a pretty darn good job at Houston in 1 year.
And it's not over.
No, he might win a Super Bowl. And then go to Bama. He wins the Super Bowl, and he's up there with his speech, and he's like, I'm coming home.
I hear you.
And who knows? Alabama could go for the black guy to become a head coach, because that's not happened in Alabama history that I know of on the football field.
Huh?
So who knows?
That's true.
Who will never get the Alabama job?
Tony Franklin?
James Franklin?
No, Tony, the guy at UVA.
Oh, Tony Elliott.
Tony Elliott, sorry. Well, him or Franklin. Yeah, I wouldn't hire James Franklin. That would be like the wildest of wilds.
He's on. By the way, he's like his agent must always put him out. He's on the list. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing?
I saw that.
What list is this?
I've seen him on a couple lists actually.
Yeah, there's a list for
Well-
coach to take over, and he's on the list. He's like the 6th, 7th pick.
I'm not even gonna lie. I saw Billy Napier on a list.
Yep. Yep.
What? So what this proves is any person can start a list.
That was what I was going to mention earlier. I would not rule completely out Mike Vrabel.
That's true.
I said Mike Vrabel earlier.
Did you say for Alabama? I know you mentioned about him getting fired.
No, I said if Mike Vrabel can recruit, I think Alabama would be a fine fit.
Yeah,
I don't know that he has that interest.
Well,
I mean, what
he's an
about John
Ohio
Gruden?
State- No.
No.
Wild card. I want to change mine to John Gruden.
No.
That's not
Yeah,
gonna-
you know what? The more I think about it, if I had a second wild card, it'd be Mike Vrabel.
Okay.
John Gruden's my wild card now.
We'll see what happens with Chucky then.
It's good.
but I doubt it.
Yeah, it's gonna be. How about PJ Fleck? No mention of him on this podcast.
I'd almost rather have James Franklin.
Oh my gosh.
No Fleck. No Fleck at all.
Do they have lakes or anything that you can row a boat in Alabama?
Hey, hold on. Hey, here's a wild card. Luke Fickell.
He's just finished up his first year at Wisconsin, though.
Marcus Freeman.
Brian Kelly.
No, we're good. But Marcus.
Would
Okay,
shock me.
Luke Fickell or Marcus Freeman?
Nah.
What's option? What's door number 3, Wayne? Is it a zonk?
But why not? They're both, especially Luke Fickell. He was very successful at Cincinnati. I know he headed to Wisconsin, but let's be honest. Alabama versus Wisconsin, that's a pretty massive divide in their ceiling. Like, that's a significant divide. You guys are having Lanning move to Alabama from Oregon to Alabama after 2 seasons.
Don't
And
throw
there's
Allen in this. I don't think he's mentioned anything about it.
There's no.
Blame me.
You're laughing at the Fickell idea, and Oregon's way closer to Bama than Wisconsin.
Did I outright laugh?
Yeah, but the thing is, Big Ten guys. So that's why he went to Wisconsin instead of a different school.
Yeah, he did. You're right. He did do very well in the Big Ten at Cincinnati.
He played at Ohio State, then was a defensive at Ohio State for 1 year.
So you're
Then
saying
what-
if Alabama goes to his front door and
1 year.
we'll write you a blank check, Luke, he's not going to consider it?
Consider it. I just don't know if he would really want to go down and deal with the SEC.
How many weeks is this going to go on for?
Not long. I think it's
Let's
done
say
by
2
Friday.
weeks. 3 weeks.
Pardon me? You think it's
I
done by
said 2
Friday?
weeks.
Yeah. I've actually seen that by a few people online that they think it's done by Friday.
Like this
Can't be-
Friday?
Yeah.
The
Told
day
you
after
it's-
tomorrow?
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Wait. It's Wednesday. Okay.
God, I nearly had a heart attack.
Well, now,
Saturday. Yeah, I think it's done in 72 hours. Well,
Well, Mike Elko's got a shot then.
look at us, everyone just be wrong, and it's just like the most shocking. It's like Dave Doran.
If it's 72 hours,
no
who
way.
knows? It could be Tommy Reese if it's 72 hours.
Then someone else laughed about that. I was on a podcast. They're like, "Well, could they stay in house?" And they're like, "They're not hiring Tommy Reese."
Who's the DC?
He retired. Kevin Steele.
No, okay, well, then he's out. Maybe he's going to come back in now. Who knows?
I really, man, this is. I'm not gonna lie. I'm super interested. As long as it's not Dan Lanning, I'm just like, this is just fascinating. Dan Lanning.
Do you have to work tomorrow?
Oh, here's a name we haven't even brought up.
There we go.
Jed Fish.
Okay.
Do you have to work tomorrow?
You guys are you're not gonna ruminate on Jed Fish a little bit? What he
I
did
like
at
Jed.
Arizona?
Didn't I tell you my Jed Fish story?
Yeah.
That I used to work with Jed's cousin. It's just as interesting as your Jeff Traylor story.
Jeff Traylor is an option. Yeah, right. But Jed Fish, like, ruminate on that one a little. And in the back of your mind, behind that, Kyle Whittingham's out there.
I would take Lance. I would take Lance Leopold over some of these names.
Jonathan Smith.
I mean,
How
me
about
too.
that?
I think just left to Michigan State and heads over to Bama. Michigan
about Mel
State was
Tucker?
just. How about Tom Allen?
I'm gonna go with no on that one probably.
No.
We've
But-
named every. I think have we named every coach yet in college
No.
Power 5?
Well, I've mixed up names, so I mean, we probably put.
We
two and
did.
two
We did
together.
mention Chip Kelly, so no, we didn't mention everyone.
Brent Pry.
Manny Diaz.
Hey, but he is at Duke now. Good call. Okay, hold on. Actually, this is legitimate. This guy, because he used to be Oregon's coach, I remember them saying that if Alabama ever opened up, he would be one of the top names at the top of the list. Now I think his star has fallen. Mario Cristobal.
Gosh, I thought this was gonna go Willie Taggart.
Almost. No, but Mario Cristobal, back a few years ago, they said if Saban left, Mario would be one of the first people on the list.
Didn't Mario coach there for a spell?
Yeah, he was recruited of the year for 2 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with no.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying, a couple of years ago, he was definitely a name.
The star has fallen.
See how quickly look at Dabo. Imagine Dabo not even being the very top person. That tells
Do
you
you know how
far-
much Mario makes? Mario's at Miami, right?
Yeah,
You know how much Mario makes?
too much.
No, I was just wondering, could Alabama bring him on as a DC?
As a DC, he never coached defense in his life.
Oh, I
He's
thought
an
Mario was a defensive guy.
No, I played offensive.
Oh.
He was an offensive line. Coach.
Never mind. Don't strike that comment from the record.
Good job, man. Who are you gonna pick to be the offensive coordinator now? I'm trying to think of a DC. Who is a good DC right now? Tosh Lapoy. Tosh Lapoy is gonna be the
Who's the DC at Georgia?
Glenn Schumann.
Can you poach
Yeah.
Kirby's staff, or would that help?
Actually, if Kirby left, Glenn Schumann probably would have a decent chance for that job.
Over Dan Lanning?
Gosh, what is your obsession with Dan Lanning?
It's just get Dan
Weird.
Lanning in the SEC.
Oh my gosh!
Get Dan
Like-
Lanning in the SEC.
Like
That's
Ole
my
Miss,
obsession.
like Ole Miss opens up to Dan Lanning.
Well, I think first off, I think Florida is going to open up sooner than the next SEC job.
We guess Dan Lanning.
Absolutely. If he doesn't have the Bama job, certainly.
He's not going to leave to Florida. If he doesn't leave to Bama, he's not leaving to Florida, bro.
Well,
Florida's last 5 coaches have been fired.
okay, first off, I'm assuming he doesn't get the Bama job if I say he's going to Florida. I'm not saying Dan Lanning just says I don't have interest. How could you not be interested in Alabama?
Oh, I didn't say he wouldn't be interested in Alabama. He won't be interested in Florida.
Well,
You know who I think Florida hires? Jed Fish, because he went to Florida.
I don't think Florida's a trash job though. I don't.
They hire Jed Fish.
The last few coaches at Florida have not
You
done
want to
any
bet me
favors.
$100 they hire Jed Fish?
No, I don't gamble on coaches. Who was the coach before Napier? Was it Mullen?
Yeah, Mullen.
Mark Mullen, wasn't it?
No, it was Mullen, and then before him it was the dude that ended up landing at Central Michigan. What's McElwain, and then before McElwain it was Muschamp. Like I said, the last 3 coaches have gotten fired, and then you're about to have number 4.
Ron Zook would look really good now in Florida, wouldn't he?
Wait, Zook was after Meyer, right?
Yeah.
I thought Zook was after
he's
the ball
at
coach.
Spurrier.
Yeah, okay. So Spurrier, Zook, Meyer, and Meyer was so quick, but he was very successful.
But Zook was not trash. They just had different expectations.
If anything, I would say that Muschamp wasn't trash.
I would
Wait a
say
minute.
Zook wasn't trash.
Muschamp was kind of trash. Mullins wasn't trash. He had one bad year, and they fired him.
Well, Billy Napier hadn't been great. I can tell you that.
He's been terrible, and the team looks worse every year, and he's not recruiting good.
And did you see he ranked Florida State out of the top 6 or top 10? I forget. He ranked them really low in the coaches poll. This is a team that beat you with their 3rd-string quarterback, Billy.
He better not do that when Norvell's at Alabama.
Better not. Or when Lanning's at Alabama. Don't mess with Dan Lanning.
Let me guess when Clemson opens up. Lanning's going to be who you're going to say. Who was? Okay, Dabble goes to Alabama like we know is going to happen. Who gets Clemson?
I don't think they have a good coaching tree to my knowledge.
No, not staff. Garrett Riley. It's a pretty good job. I mean, they'll get a good coach.
It's not a bad job. I just don't think they have a coaching tree, or I don't think the name Clemson rings like Alabama does either to people.
Who would Clemson get this late in the game?
Good.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Matt Rule.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out.
You wouldn't rule it out. I like that.
That's funny. Jamie Chadwell?
I don't think right now.
South Carolina? Where did he coach his whole coaching career pretty much until he came to Liberty?
Is this a trivia question?
What state?
I'm assuming South Carolina.
Yep. Charleston Southern and Coastal Carolina.
A little bit of a step up. Chuck South and CCU to Clemson.
I could see him getting the job offer. They also are a more conservative school. I think they're known as the most conservative public school.
Hey, I'll tell you this. When Kentucky opens up, I will not say Dan Lanning. Even though it's an SEC school.
Actually, Mark Stoops to Clemson, I could see that.
I think he's going to Iowa, but, you know.
Ferentz didn't leave.
Well, not yet.
I would have agreed with you.
I mean, hey, the Seattle Seahawks job wasn't open until today.
I thought Ferentz was gone. Yeah, I thought he was retired. Surprised me.
Maybe he's going to Alabama.
Yeah, okay.
Talk about the wild card. Oh my gosh.
Okay, I have to go now.
We haven't even mentioned Jeff Brom yet.
That's true.
I'm not gonna lie, these podcasts, when we go on these coaching carousel, they're the best.
It's not a carousel, it's a road trip.
Anyways, I gotta go, guys. Next week we'll talk about Dabo Swinney at Alabama. It's gonna be all be clear.
Yeah, once we find out, we'll definitely talk about it, and we'll see about some of the other sports. But Other than that, tomorrow, I'm Alan. That's Bob. That's Tyler. That's been the top 25 rundown. Have a good night, everybody.